Now, when we think about the effects of a vaccine on a population, we cannot just look at the vaccine per se. You have to look at the system. You have to look at the preparedness of the government, the accountability, the money, the cost benefit. Are we actually in a good place by investing here than investing in the other the other vaccines where we've seen a 40% coverage for this country? No, parang you have to look at the whole picture and say, yes, this is a good thing to do, or no, it's not a good thing to do. Now, if we were to take it back, and again, this is where the politics comes in, right? It is not for the palace or the president to say, introduce the vaccine. And this is why there is a Department of Health. You have a Food and Drug Administration. You do have a Formulary Executive Committee. The accountability needs to be there. I remember when they were trying to introduce the hepatitis vaccine into the Philippines, it took 7 or 8 years. And countries were already using it. Many countries were using it. So I don't know why we are jumping up and down to get this vaccine back. I really don't know. I mean, I think, even from what Dr. Bravo is saying, we don't know enough about this. We don't know how long it lasts. You need to give 3 doses. We don't know what the effect is on children who are immunocompromised with tuberculosis, with whatever.
So your main criticism really is that it was rushed and we cannot rush again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think being open to it's not a problem. It's a good thing to be open about anything. But the process of the government is, it goes through the FDA properly, with proper scrutiny. Actually, when Dengvaxia was licensed, it was not licensed for mass vaccination. It was licensed as a prescription drug. And there was no budget for it, meaning it was not debated publicly. Or in the days when the Food and Drug Administration was holding pharmaceutical companies accountable for drugs and not relying on international accreditation, you would give a license to any new drug for a year in the market, not for the government to buy, but in the market for 1 year. And within that 1 year, that pharmaceutical company has to monitor 3,000 people who take the drug. And anything that happens to that 3,000 in that period of time is the responsibility of the pharmaceutical company. Now, Dengvaxia got a license for 5 years without any post-marketing surveillance. No accountability. You know, we went into this whole thing, and that's it. After 1 year, they immediately say, oh, sorry,
So
we
what
gave you
would
the
be
wrong
a
information.
responsible way to bring it back, if we bring it back?
Reapply to the Bureau of Food and Drug.
But
Dr. Susi?
not for a mass vaccination, for a voluntary.
Well,
I mean, if I want to get it, that's none of anybody's business.
If the application is made again to the Food and Drug Administration, then the Food and Drug Administration will determine whether or not it can be used in the market, and the Formulary Executive Committee decides on whether or not the government can buy it. There's a system in
Bravo.
place.
Are you okay with pilot areas?
That was the original recommendation of the Formulary Executive Committee. It was supposed to be staged
In
procurement,
2016,
phased implementation, and localized use.
which was not followed.
No.
Yeah.
No. I
But
mean,
if
the
this
drug,
is followed-
the drug was here even before it was procured.
If this is
this is-
followed, it will be okay with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, ako,
Go
just
through the process
very quick,
properly.
Is there a way, or should there be some sort of a qualification on the dengue crisis? On the one hand, to your point, that if there's a crisis, let's act with more urgency. But where on the other hand, you're saying that, as to Ami's point, that we don't need to necessarily rush into this. How do we contextualize the dengue crisis? Is this something that we can afford to wait for protocols to kick in, to have an intervention that's acceptable to everyone?
You know, the caveat really is do no harm. And I think by rushing again, we will create harm. So I think there are high numbers. I think we should be alarmed by it. I think we need to do basic public health community interventions, get the epidemiology right. The Department of Health is doing what it needs to do. This is happening all over the world. We are not the only ones, but we are the only ones jumping up and down to want to vaccinate. I think there's a bit of a problem there. So, no, I do not think we can afford to rush at this point in time.
Okay. Well, Dr. Susi, before we end, I'll just squeeze in one last question. Can you clarify what Panelo said about dengue? When he said that they are considering or they're open to using Dengvaxia, was is government seriously considering using Dengvaxia, or is it an open-ended and generic and vague response to a question? I mean, it can be interpreted a lot of ways. Baka mamaya we're
You're
just
making her the spokesperson of the
as the presidential
spokesperson.
envoy.
Yeah, but you are, I mean, we have to
On
say,
health
you are a presidential envoy of global
Because
health.
there are so many ways to interpret what Panelo said. You can take it to mean that oh, yes, they are looking into it right now, or well, anything's possible.
Well, I would go by what the Secretary of Health says as the alter ego of the President of Health. I haven't heard Secretary Duque say that they're bringing it back. Now, can we be open to it? Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with being open. But being open does not mean that the President's going to order that we buy it. This is not, and that was what happened last time. This is not the way it should go. Go through the processes of government, the checks and balances.